Hey everybody, it's Jillian. So I figure I'd do a periodic update every so often so you guys can kind of see how I'm doing as I am studying thermodynamics, ionic and covalent bonding, and biochemical signaling. And yes, I covered the macro when it comes to how cells manifest in behaviors. And so I figure that this is a good time since yesterday and today, wow. I'll say this, that no matter what, you're going to have to upgrade your body, okay? You're going to have to be able to withstand the virus that's in the environment, as well as the vaccines that are going to be mandatory if you want to partake in communal gatherings. And so you saw the article that I posted that the UK is now making vaccines mandatory if you want to travel on airplanes. And yes, for concerts as well. And potentially for any type of mass gathering that is organized with a lot of people, they're going to want to see proof that you have some kind of exposure. Now, we can call it immunity. Immunity is death. And they're not going to say it in that way. So they're going to say that if you can survive the vaccines, it means that you could survive pretty much any exposure you get wherever you go, because there's going to be some kind of mutation of that virus. And so if you have the antibody, which, yes, is a snapshot of one aspect of your environment, if you can survive the antibody, then you'll be exposed to other antibodies that are somewhat like the same. And so that way they know that you might suffer a little bit of symptoms as you are upgrading, but it's not going to destroy you because you have enough energy, enough thermodynamic effective use of energy. You have enough, I would say, good cellular thermodynamics to be able to survive the viral thermodynamics. Now, I'm going to use the word thermodynamics because that's really what's going on. Now, I didn't have the words a while ago to explain how the viruses and the antibodies and the different upgrades impact your body. So I said it in so many different words. People call it word salad. But yeah, I mean, studying the micro, which is the ionic and covalent bonding. What is ionic and covalent bonding? Well, I'm writing about that. But I'll give you a tiny little clue. Ionic bonding is when you have plus or minus electrons to your molecules, your cells, that will then either take away cells from your body that do not correspond with the rest of the body, or they attract. Okay, because plus and minus is attraction, minus is repel. Plus is repel. No different than when you're doing those integers and plusing and minusing different integers on a grid. And so ionic bonding is, yeah, like salt. Okay, salt is an ionic bond. And that is the electric circuit board in your body. And that's why I'm able to use these analogies now, because analogies is like a snapshot of, well, it's a secret way of explaining the same thing in a different context. And so JillyJuice, which is the salt, which is the electrical grid in your body, the salt is what powers your body and powers your organs. Well, yeah, yesterday it was crazy. I had to get a bunch of laundry done, had to get a bunch of stuff done. And I got up at 3 a.m. and I wrote a bunch of stuff, studied a bunch of stuff regarding electrons, protons, and neutrons, and how all that works, valence electrons. I mean, I've been studying physics for the last week and a half. And so yesterday I knew that COVID was in my environment because I felt very, very tired. And so how COVID is going to affect me is when my body is so tired, it holds on to poop, because I've been pooping regularly every day and eliminating everything that I ate the day before with nothing left behind. And so when I notice that there's a change in my environment, my body holds on to poop and I feel kind of crampy and kind of bloated. And so I'm like, ugh. And so then I slept. And then after I slept, took a nap and did like 10 loads of laundry yesterday, despite all this stuff. I took a shot of the JJ because I wanted to increase the electrical power to release that poop. And it finally, yes, it all came out. But yeah, when your body's going through an upgrade, whether it's from a vaccine or from a virus, it may tend to hold on to poop and whatever else to try to then repair the cells. And so that's why sleeping, that's why when you guys are tired, it's because the body's trying to repair and it needs to be in a specific type of stasis environment or, state of your body to be able to repair. And when you don't sleep enough and when you don't sleep when you need to is when the body doesn't get the repairs that it needs. And so it starts cannibalizing itself if it's not retaining the energy. And so yesterday, yeah, I was tired. I was irritable last night. Okay. My husband was kind of antagonizing me a little bit because he likes to do that sometimes. Pisses me off, but I know that I'm alive because I fight back, not in a bad way, but it's just like, he is who he is. He's funny. And I have to blow my nose and I don't have my little washcloth with me. And so, yeah, so I definitely was very, very tired. I could feel my body going through its repairs. And so I knew something was going on. And I know that COVID is very rampant in my community. I mean, you've seen the news reports that Ohio is going through an upsurge in the admissions in the hospital, and Cleveland Clinic is saying they're needing to have nurses get paid like $55 to $75 an hour to look after COVID patients. Okay. So I know COVID's in my environment, but how I know it is because the way in which, my body needs to rest. Like today, I do feel a lot better today. And but I still didn't really feel like writing, but I had a lot of energy to be able to explain an analogy of how JillyJuice is able to help support your electrical grid to then support the upgrade, because that's what a vaccine is. It's an upgrade, but not everybody has the energy retention and the energy to be able to power, to be able to be able to utilize the power correctly. So when you have cancer, disease, and chronic illness, and you've been exposed to the COVID-19, yes, you're going to feel symptoms, and you better have the energy and the fuel to be able to handle that upgrade. That's what symptoms are. They're just upgrades. Cancer is an upgrade. And like I said, in one of those posts about cancer is a type of thermodynamics. It's an energy that has pooled in one area, no different than your house. When you have so much voltage in one area, so many things start growing or there's fire. And that's really what cancer is. It's like fire in one part of your house because there's too much ampage, too much voltage in that area. And so what happens is in the allopathic holistic industry then tries to put that fire out. They try to cut off the power supply. And that's what chemotherapy is. All therapies is trying to put out the life power supply in your body. And then you have dead zones in your body that eventually they do coalesce. And then there are not just little dead zones in your body. Now there's huge dead zones in your body. And that's why you see people age. That's basically the dead zones all forming together to become one big dead zone. And eventually that does hit the vital organs. So I knew that when somebody is aging, the body does cannibalize itself and the vital organs are the most important. So that's why then you see people's hair go gray. You see the skin lose its collagen, loses elasticity. You see sunken eyes. You see a lot of different issues when people are cannibalizing themselves because they're not retaining the energy and they're not able to handle the upgrades in their environment. And so physics and chemistry, biochemistry, and even, social sciences all are interrelated. And so I taught a lot about the macro, about behavior, sexual behaviors, to bullying, to people with anxiety and depression, or just complete ignorance where they just don't even want to respond to anything. They're just completely neutral. And neutral is death to evolution, just so you know that too. So those that ignore things are also on an equilibrium, which means that they're on the death trajectory. And so now finally I am now tackling the macro, which I now understand, Einstein's theory of relativity. I finally understood, the Newton's law of motion, learning Coulomb's laws. okay, with inverse square law, along with, Isaac Newton's square or inverse square law. And so all of that has to do with how your cells are responding to the energy in your environment. And of course, everything is electrical. Salt is a conductor. And so when people are losing their life force, they're losing the electrical grid. It's like losing electricity in your house. Now you don't have power to your bathroom. That's people who have digestive issues are losing power to their bathrooms. They can't turn the light on in the bathroom to take a shower. When you have shorts in your electrical circuits, then you have issues like, diabetes and heart issues and lung issues. I mean, that's all has to do with electrical circuits that are glitching. And so, when the holistic allopathic industry is like, oh yeah, go on a low sodium diet, they're basically decreasing your life force. And that's exactly what Dr. Phil did, is he decreased more the life force of the people in his audience. And so when you actually put the power back onto your home, when there is like a power outage, and then you turn all the lights on, you turn on the TV on, the stereo on, everything's up all the way up, and then the lights come back on all of a sudden, it's like a big cacophony of noise and pain, because now your body has to adapt to what used to be darkness and silence to now light and noise. That's exactly what the JillyJuice does. It's like turning on the power. Finally, the power comes on back in your body, mind, and spirit. And yeah, you'll be angry when you first do the JillyJuice, because yes, now you're going to get life back in your body. You're going to feel pain. You're going to be releasing mucus. You're going to be dealing with everything that you've ever just kind of suppressed. Okay? And so viral thermodynamics is basically causing the body to cause more energy. And that's what the antibodies do. It causes more energy in the body that some people don't have. And when you don't have that kind of energy, then the body cannibalizes itself. And so if you think people should die, well, then why the hell are you doing all your therapies? No, you don't want to die. Nobody wants to die. But nobody understands how salt is the electrical conductor. It's the electrical grid that keeps everything together. And then also it abides by the DNA laws of your body. So when you actually are able to realize what your DNA, the 2 arms, the 2 legs, and the working heart and the lungs, when the body is able to repair your DNA, then you start seeing differences in the way in which you manifest your behaviors. You start seeing the reversal of all of your issues, whatever they are. But you have to go through the fire, okay? You have to actually feel pain. You got to stop taking the power out of your body. But that's what chemotherapy and cannabis and herbs do, and all of your little holistic remedies. All of that stuff that they're trying to suppress your evolution and turn off the power is causing your de-evolution. It's causing a rapid entropy. And so JillyJuice now finally turns the power up. And that's why people are afraid of the white salt, because it's a very powerful mineral that does wake up the body. But if you're not healing and sealing, it's not just doing salt. Because I'm telling you, people do salt flushes all the time and they turn up the ampage in their body, but they don't have the retention of the energy to repair the cells. And so the body energizes itself and it will still try to repair the damage, but it doesn't have the resources, the reserves. And so what it does, it steals from Peter to pay Paul. So when you do just salt, but not the JJuice, and you still eat your sugar because you need the fats, then you're juicing up the body to then cannibalize itself even faster, which also is very deadly too. So nobody can get away with not doing JJuice if you want to live. And so I finally figured out how to say all this stuff. And so right now I'm going through, and I'm going through even the molecular weights of carbohydrates or sugar, glucose. I'm going through molecular weights of what proteins are. I went through it and Googled what molecular weights for each of the different elements, the single elements with the 1 electron, all the way to where you have a compound. And sugar is a compound, like hydrogen and something, carbon and something else. And that it has a specific molecular weight. And that molecular weight then adds the mass to your body. That's the atomic mass that gives you the mass. It gives you a gravitational pull. And so that's why JillyJuice is so important to understand, because it is about atomic energy. Okay, it's all down to the atom. And it's no different than out there in outer space with the planets swirling around. I'm likening the Andromeda galaxy to be one big electron, because eventually it's going to collide with the Milky Way. It's going to have an explosion. And we add an electron to an atom. which is basically the Milky Way galaxy, and you have the nucleus with the protons, the neutrons, the electrons, in the sun, which is the center of the universe. Then you have the planets that are like different electrons and valence electrons. And then you have another galaxy, which is another electron that when you're in a universe that is expanding and contracting. Well, they say that Andromeda is coming in 4.5 billion years. Andromeda is going to hit the Milky Way galaxy. There's going to be an explosion and there'll be no life left because it's a major, massive, deadly explosion. So everything from the micro to the macro is interrelated. Politics, religion, and science to chemistry, biochemistry, physics, math, English. English is just another way to another conversion of math. English can be converted to binary code. So you're going to see all those things are related. And then guess what? Now you have the key to understanding that every single time, when you eat a food, that sugar is supporting not only your blood sugars, okay, but it also is supporting your DNA double helix little, ladder structures along with phosphates. So then you're not worried about GMO or any of the highly mineralized food because you do need minerals. Then you're not worried about the chemtrails or the 5G because 5G is just electricity, no different than salt, no different than getting, those two things that pump your heart if you have some kind of heart attack, because what do they do? I forget those things where you goes 1, 2, 3, and then it gives you electrical charge when someone has a heart attack. That's what Wi-Fi does. It just basically electrifies your body, but you better have what it takes to be able to handle the evolution. Okay, because any time that you're around some kind of electricity, whether it's salt or Wi-Fi, you better have the carbohydrates, you better have the healing and sealing, so the body then is able to repair any specific damage that may be going on. Okay, so me being tired is the whole body upgrading to another upgrade to the universe. But that's it. How COVID interacts with me is just the tiredness and a little bit irritableness, and then the holding on to the poop. And then I just do my JillyJuice, give myself an electrical charge. It repairs what it needs to repair, or not even repairs, it upgrades. And then the poop gets released and I'm normal. So that's why you got to do JillyJuice to release the excess old microbiomes, the poop. Eat a meat diet with vegetables and carbs and cheese and milk. Like, don't discriminate against food unless you're like allergic, and then you'll eventually reintroduce. But you need all of that nutrients to fuel your body to handle the upgrades. And when you go outside, defibrillator, thank you. When you go outside, it's cold outside. Right now it's like 20, and right now it's like 50, but earlier this morning it's like 26 degrees. But what I do when I get like a mental block, when I'm writing and I get a mental block and I'm working on something very infinitesimal like electrons and valence electrons, and I'm like, oh my God. And then try to look at the bigger picture when you're looking at such a small picture. I'll move around my biochemistry. I'll go outside, smoke a cigarette. And I knew this morning this cigarette was actually, it was burning faster because it's colder outside. And I get my hormones and my juices all like, up to the surface, because that gives me then the more creative energy. And then I finally get clarity on how I'm going to say things, finding good analogies, finding things that will make you guys understand, help me understand and explain things better. So, but when you go outside, you're now bringing, you're burning carbohydrates, you're burning the brown fat. And so, yeah, the polar people, the therapies, when they go out there and they jump in the cold ass water so they can get that high, it's burning energy. It's burning fat, yes. But it's also, if you don't have energy retention and you don't have enough fuel in the body, it also will cannibalize you. So the guys out there that are these gurus, these spiritual gurus that go and jump in hot water or go into saunas, they're accelerating their death process. And yes, they're aging and they're grading. Okay? So you have to understand that even JillyJuice and the salt and all that stuff will help you acclimate to the different temperatures in the environment. Because too hot is very hard on the body. Too cold, too hard on the body. And so JillyJuice helps regulate. So that way when you do go into different environments, you have the support system. And then food, whether it's McDonald's, whether it's Top Ramen. I actually yesterday, when I was feeling a little bit bad, and I was hungry, but I wasn't, but I ate some Top Ramen. I ate a cup of soup. It had a lot of sodium. I felt a lot better. And then I was doing laundry, and finally I did a shot of JillyJuice on top of that. And so that even made everything else better. And so, and so then last night I was trying to go to sleep. My husband was being a jackass. Yeah, I love him. He can be a jackass sometimes. And he was trying to mess with me before I was going to sleep. Yeah, Wim Hof. Oh, yeah. Yeah, odd. It's Wim Hof. And so I was just growling. I'm like, I gotta sleep. I need to sleep. Just leave me alone. And then my dog wanted to go out. I didn't want to take her out. So finally I woke up at 11 o'clock and she said, okay, I want to go out now. I'm like, okay. So I took her out. But I was just too tired to even just deal with anyone or anything. And it's because the body needed to repair itself. And so, yeah, when you get growly, when you get irritated and you're tired, go to fucking sleep. Just cut off the world and go to sleep and take care of yourself. Don't let anyone mess with you. Okay? And so these are the signs that I know that I'm going through upgrades. And it's not bad. I don't have any headaches. I don't have any kind of like weird skin issues. I don't feel depressed. I feel very clear-headed. Probably the best clear-headedness feeling. I probably feel better now in my mid-40s than I've ever felt. And my ability to learn new concepts like physics and learn about electrons and protons and neutrons, and then what ionic and covalent bonding, which is ionic is salt, covalent is like the sugar. Okay? And sugar is covalent and it doesn't, it's more stable. Salt is more reactive. And so that's why you have to have a good combination of sugar and salt. So that way, when you are doing JillyJuice and you have excess fat on your body, the salt will help melt and process the fat, and then you pee it all out. I remember and how I knew this because when I first did the JillyJuice, I lost so much water weight, yes, because I was bloated, and I shrunk my fat cells the first couple weeks. And I wasn't super fat, but I was bloated when I first did the JillyJuice way back in 2016. And I was like, holy shit. But I had to go through a lot more healing too on top of that. But that was the first thing I noticed was I lost the water weight, shrunk my fat cells. And then everything after that, then, all the healing tumbled out after that. Then I had to go through the constipation, go through the yeast infections, through the hemorrhoids, through the skin issues, through the mental whatever, through reacting to all the social media bullshit. I'm telling you, the healing process, when your body finally comes to life, it's not easy when your body finally comes to life. Oh, you think your life is life now? Yeah, okay, you're living. But you're only living on half a tank. And that half a tank has sprung a leak. And some of you aren't patching up that leak or welding a very, you're not reinforcing your gas tank very well. So you're always springing leaks. And yeah, that's the entropy process. See, everything can be likened to a car's combustion, to powering a house, to plumbing, if you look at every single industry out there, it can be comparable to the human body and how an organization runs, finances. Okay, even my dog, she's such a good girl, and she's very calm. She's very, very she's definitely, there's no anxiety with her. She still hasn't destroyed that squeaky toy that I bought for her a couple weeks ago. Okay? And she definitely knows how to telepathically talk to me. So yeah, Odd Stewart says, nobody but you guys would believe some of the crazy shit my body has been through since being on the JillyJuice. This shit is not for pussies. You're absolutely right. It is not for the faint of heart. It really isn't. I mean, I went through some stuff, just because of the changes, my biochemical changes, and how that impacts my husband too, because he has to now experience a whole new Jillian, not the Jillian he first met. It's a whole new different Jillian that he has to get to know. And he's going like, what the hell? Okay. And some people you'll cut off in the world. Some people you won't really want to give much time to because you don't really have a lot in common with a lot of people. Okay. And that's to be expected, but you'll find a happy medium if there is a happy medium somewhere, if there is that common ground. So there's going to be a lot of changes when you stay on the JillyJuice. I mean, and they'll be for the better. Because I'm telling you, you know, when you finally are not so focused on accumulating or releasing and releasing so much, and you finally have a balance between accumulation and releasing, then you realize you don't need half as much as you think you need. You won't need to collect so much to guard it and whatever. So life becomes simpler when you finally balance out your ionic and covalent bonding, your thermodynamics. And so, yeah, so, this is just really like such an interesting place to be at this point. And I never would have thought I'd be in this position. So anyways, I suggest you guys do the JillyJuice and stay on it. I suggest that you don't waste your energy on the activism, on the fear of the New World Order. There's nothing wrong with the Catholic Church. There's nothing wrong with the Freemasons. You get a chance at life if you understand what it takes as far as thermodynamics and ionic and covalent bonding. Oh yeah, I'm using those words up the yin yang because I have to be able to explain in all aspects how that works. It's all physics. Once you understand how physics works, you'll understand why the JillyJuice works, what brings a body together, and why people have glitches in their electrical grid in their body because they're not giving enough JillyJuice or power juice or the salt, but not just salt. It's backed with the cabbage and the kale fermented down to a pre-digested state with a very diverse food supply. You're not cutting out sugar. You're not demonizing sugar. You're not demonizing fluoride. You're not demonizing, and there's people that are still going back to my old post where I was demonizing fluoride, trying to post. I delete every single time someone shares something from way back before the JillyJuice. I delete the post because that's not who I am anymore. I don't demonize fluoride. It's just a mineral. It's a negative, on the periodic tables, but then you have the positive of the JillyJuice. The salt is a positive cation. Okay? It's an ionic bonding. Salt will release what the body doesn't need, as well as allow the bonding of then your different fats and then the proteins. I actually if you Google or ask Google, what is the molecular weight of protein? And that's all the amino acids. Okay, it's a heavy weight. That's what gives you mass. See, I had to really look at from the most infinitesimal, microscopic standpoint of how a body gets built. Okay, like not even just cells. It's like down to the fucking atom, down to the atomic, subatomic particle. Okay, and that's how you have to look at JillyJuice and how you have to look at life. It's not just like, oh, it's a cell, it's a heart, it's a liver. There's so much more going on than just it's a liver. It's subatomic ways of looking at things, and then how they interact with other atoms. And these atoms are like, and I said like image is electrical impulses, matter, acids, and gases. And it's a projection of either virtual reality or reality. An image is who you are. You're projecting an image based upon how your electrical impulses impact the matter and the gases and the acids. Acids, ribonucleic acid, DNA, deoxynucleic acid. All of that is like about projection. So how you interact in the world is a projection of your DNA. It says a lot. And you see the world's going to shit. You see your friends around you are going to shit. No offense. But when the body is losing its life force, its electrical force, yes, it falls apart. It flies apart. Because yes, it's about gravity. And I do put that in this as a first thing. Gravity is the first thing that helps you understand why JJuice is so important. Because if you don't have gravity, then you are free floating and everything is pooling together. There's no force to keep things together. The force is the gravity that keeps you together. So anyone that denies gravity out there doesn't understand that you have to have gravity to keep your body, mind, and spirit together, so it's not flying apart or pooling or just jelly. Okay? And so JJuice and the salt and the carbs, the ionic and the covalent bonding is basically the gravitational pull of your cells to then give you this intelligent looking life form. Okay? And so now, who actually designed the DNA initially? Well, you were watching the History Channel and the whole alien stuff, the Anunnaki, the Nephilim, and you can go into all that stuff. And I do probably say I don't say too much about it because there's nothing that I can prove as far as who actually created our DNA to begin with. We're just working off of the model that was given to us, and now we're able to maintain the model. It doesn't really matter where it came from. Yeah, it came from the stars. But what was it? Now, here's the thing. The sun powers and gives life because it's light to all the different planets. But why isn't there no life on Pluto and Neptune? Or if there is, it's very microscopic. And why does Earth have a life? And why does maybe some other planets have more life than not, but not enough like Earth? Where Earth seems to really have a lot of life. And I think it has to do with the heat and with, of course, image and then it just is a perfect balance for biodiversity. Okay? And so, yeah, the sun definitely, of course, plays a huge part in how life, is able to grow and manifest and stay and sustain. Okay, so yeah, you don't want to live in the dark. If you live in the dark, you lose your color. You become one of those anglerfish that have a little lantern in front trying to light its way. You need light. Okay? You need light. Hey, John, I see you. You need light, you need heat, and, the spectrum, because and I learned about, stuff I learned back, this reminded me of college class, when I learned about, invisible light, and how light impacts molecules and then projects an image, and then your corneas and your eyes then are able to then put it all together. And right now, humanity has a very specific perception, but maybe our perceptions might change when everybody is finally a whole person. Right now, my perspective has changed and my perception has changed. There really is no war out there. Yeah, people are reacting and whatever, but that's because they're losing their life force. They're falling apart, or they're in total denial. And when you're in total denial, that's called being neutral. That's also death. Yeah, the space between two neutral atoms is equilibrium. That's death. So when you're neutral about life, then you're really not evolving either. And when you're taking a side, you're not evolving either. So there's got to be a balance, right? But I still, do I take any side? Take a side of life. I want to live. I really don't want to die. I don't want any of you to die either. So that's the side that I'm going to take, the side of life, if I'm going to take a side. But there is no enemies out there. There are no enemies out there. There is no war out there. It's just people glitching from they're glitching from they're short-circuiting. Your friends and family, they're either in denial or just acting out irrationally, afraid of everything. They're just short-circuiting. And you really can't do anything about that. You can't go and just plug them into the wall and tell them to go and charge up because they don't want the life in their body. They'd rather short-circuit and then pass away because that's what they expect to happen. So there's nothing you can do about it. So you just live your life and be the example, and that's it. And then you develop yourself. You develop yourself, you improve yourself, and you find ways to just diversify, become more than 2D, 3D, 4D, be like 20D or something. And, and that's all I have to offer. So happy Sunday. Nice to see everybody. Thanks. Bye.